when I think of enlightened beings, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but people have this idea of quote unquote enlightened beings, and to me, what all that means is you're just more you and your most selfness, what you were created to become without the indoctrination.
All this and more coming up on this episode of the TruthSeekah podcast. Really quick, before we get started, if you are blessed by this ministry, if you're blessed by this platform, anything that I bring to the table, I ask you to partner with me via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah and you unlock rewards, my entire discography of music, webinars, meditations, weekly hangouts, and so much more. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Go check it out.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast, streaming live at TruthSeekah.com, your source for spiritual and inspirational music, teachings, and media. This show is designed to help you grow in your walk with Christ and advance the kingdom of heaven. And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast. Excited to be here with my co-host, sidekick, other half, partner in holiness,
Hey, everybody.
my wife, Erin. So this is the first official podcast we're doing together, and we're joined today by our friend, Corin Grillo. Friend, what's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good, man. I just got back from Mexico actually this
Really?
weekend. So
What were
my
you
guts,
doing?
my guts are still recovering, but
Oh. Was that was planned, or was it impromptu? What was that?
no, I mean, it was planned for a couple months. Yeah, I took my kids out there and, hung out at the beach, talked to some ancestors, just loved up on some humidity and some heat. So that was nice.
Heck yeah. Any epiphanies or divine revelations you can share with us or unpack with us on this?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny you ask. Absolutely. Yes. So, I don't know if you've traveled overseas with teenagers, but it's not an easy experience, and so we woke up early and those kids were giving me so much lip, like they're acting like I'm about to take them to like a foreign nation prison, like just going to drop them off in prison kind of thing. So ungrateful, and it's like a big investment. So anyways, I was at the airport tantruming, being in my full human mom self, tantruming on the inside, like, no, everybody's so ungrateful. And I forgot a sweatshirt. So I went into a store and there I wasn't sure I would find anything good, because it's like an airport thing. But anyways, I ended up finding a sweatshirt. I was the only person in there. And then this older woman comes in and she starts talking to me and asked me if I had kids. And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, those teenage years, that's the roughest. And she starts telling me exactly what I needed to hear. And it's just picking my thoughts straight out of my brain, verbalizing them. And the whole time she's trying to get me to buy this pair of pants. And this pair of pants is so specific. Like, I have a very specific sense of style, which is why I was like, I'm not sure how to find anything in an airport, but she pulls it like magically out of behind some stuff. This pair of pants, she's like, these pants would look so good on you. I'm pretty sure you should get these pants. And I was like, look, I have enough pants. I don't need extra pants. I packed so many pants, like all this stuff. And then, so I knew that I felt like she was something special, right? I knew that there was something there, but I wasn't totally sure until I got to Mexico and went to get dressed the next day and realized I left every single pair of my pants at home. So definitely an angelic encounter with, I would say more like the grandmother. Yeah. And so that set off a series of blessings that happened down in that week, just so loving, so comforting, and I guess I would say opened up the portal for me to have even more communion with my ancestors and with Great Spirit, you know.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Pants of all things. I'm like, put the pants down, woman.
It's funny how, we talked about a little bit earlier, we were talking about triggers, and like most of us know the triggers that are negative triggers. They remind us of trauma. They let us know there's some deeper trauma there. But like there's triggers too that the angels set up, and we can know that the angels set up the bad triggers too. They're indicators. But triggers for the good, when we get out of the flow and then something that triggers you, like, hold on, I'm a badass. What am I doing tripping? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going here to commune with everything, And so it's a little thing that jolts you to, like, hold on, let me take this breath in. And I know who I am. You might not know who I am, but I know. And so sometimes the outside don't look like the inside. And so it tries to, we try to live according to what we see or something, but that's not who we are, because circumstances, feelings come and go. So
Totally.
triggers on the
Totally.
outside that just God, the universe has to just general reminders. If it's a song, if it's a, a lot
Oh,
of songs.
totally.
Quote.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I always say, like, and that was a really clear example of how in every moment we have an opportunity to receive what God, what our creator is presenting to us as the medicine to bring us back into, balance, out of trigger and into a more positive trigger, if you will. But it's, and I feel, and I know you feel like this, it's always hiding in plain sight. It's always right in front of you. But we are always given an opportunity to take a more larger hearted route, to walk. And also from, from, also my experience in working with angels and all the divinities that I work with is that our humanness is also to be venerated. It's also to be appreciated and respected. So this tantrum, that I had, because only your teenagers can give you that kind of tantrum. I mean, they take you into special places sometimes, but what a blessing it is to be in this body and to be able to experience these deep, powerful emotions, because really people that we love, they're the ones that can get us the most. And so if we can just kind of switch over and go, wow, no one could take me down like those two. But it's only because how big my heart is for them. But yeah, this woman coming in, she was so next level. I mean, she looked super slick, and she didn't look a day over 60. She was 82. She claimed. I'm pretty sure she was ageless.
Yeah.
Eternal, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that's something that I think for a lot of us is required for us to look at right now, is to look at how mean we are to ourselves when I'm not in this perfect, centered, all blissful state. But also part of being here, this is part of this experience of being in these bodies, is the pain and discomfort that comes with it, and how you choose to roll with it. You can suppress it, and then all kinds of other things happen. Kind of shove it under the carpet, the family carpet, just let's not talk about that. Or we can just treat ourselves with compassion, and each other with compassion and empathy, and those kinds of things that we talk about but aren't always so skilled at practicing.
Mm-hmm. You want to mention I think a good story to share with her?
Story.
Who?
Jenny. Are we thinking of different stories?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna mention our friend Jenny went on a trip, and Spirit was talking to her in a similar way. They were going to Alaska to see the Aurora Borealis. Her and her husband, it was their 20th wedding anniversary. And she kept feeling from spirit that she needed to pack all of their heavy winter gear in their carry-on luggage. And she wrestled with it, and she's like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, it's not even going to be cold the day we land there. There's no reason I should need a down ski jacket in my carry-on. So she wrestled with it, but finally she just said, okay, God, I'll obey. I'll do it. And all of their luggage, checked luggage, got lost on the trip. So their whole trip, when they really needed the heavy stuff, they had it because it was in the carry-on. And then one thing led to another, and the airline ended up comping them so much money to cover the loss of their important luggage for the trip that they got the whole trip for free.
Yeah, I mean, that is so beautiful. Yeah, and I think, in my first book, I write about some of that, how these things have been happening for us so much, and isn't it just a matter of listening, just kind of listening and trusting, and until you learn how to open the eyeballs in your heart, and really see the beauty, see the blessings. Like, wow, we are so taken care of. But you got to listen. Like, I would have had pants, is what I'm saying, had I not been so thinking I always know what's best for me. Maybe this woman knows what's best for me after all, right? Uh,
There's a
surprise,
black pair, I
surprise.
might buy them. There's not a black pair of pants. So it's only blue jeans, It's like, no, just get them. No, I insist. Like, that's we get better at taking those cues. Like once you've been in the two or three, initiations, if you will, that are
Yeah.
just out and about, and you don't know that the person who's talking to you is an angel, or they know something that you don't. And then when they give you a suggestion, you're like, okay, I'll play the game. Sure. I'm gonna listen to you because you know better than me. And it is interesting because if we'll listen long enough, there's a good chance everybody in your life is an angel. So just take,
I was just gonna say.
your children, your spouse, you're in the random comment by night on Facebook, maybe because it shows you something. It's just to say what if, and it's in the little subtleties, the little nuances that what if that bird is the angel, you know, and 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 we can share the thought that it's not a what if. The bird is probably the most angelic.
Yeah, we're
You'll,
bird
you'll,
folk.
you'll see, yeah.
Yeah, definitely the birds are angels. But yeah, it's just a matter of what kind of angel you're talking to, right? What kind of channel you're working with. But yeah, definitely over the years, when I feel like it's important for us to see ourselves also as there's all this weight on the word angel, that angels are messengers, and what kind of messenger are we? And you can believe that you're very righteous, yet the words out of your mouth are not. They might feel righteous, maybe because we've been indoctrinated to believe that they're righteous, but it is really looking. I mean, for me, it's like when I walk out into the world and I am at the grocery store, or at the subway station or whatever, it's like if someone comes to talk to me, I lean in. I'm like, okay, what's the communication here? What are you trying to say? Because our teachers are everywhere, right? Like in the animals, and like you said, the children. Wow, if we just shut up and listen to the kids, all of our world's problems would be done and done. Done and done. It wouldn't even be a thing. And we'd all be playing all the time instead of working. What's that about?
Yeah. I was listening to an interview last night with the girl from Hylum, and she's they do like shamanic native music, really beautiful music. And she was being interviewed, and it was like, if you can go on the guy asked her, if you can go on any planet that, what kind of planet would it be? Like, what would be different about it? Any world, what would the world be? And she pretty much said she would want to go to like an Earth planet, a planet where you can wake up and choose to do what you love or learn how to play the violin, and that's all you had to worry about. Like, you didn't have to worry about bills and worry about all the other baggages that kind of feel like they pull you out of the the creative aspect or worry and stress that's now on you, because now you got to pay taxes, you know, and I think that with her saying that, I think that's a world that we can try our best to create, you know, if that, and obviously that's something that you want to go live on a different planet to do, but how about we try our best to bring that planet, that heavenly state here, or we don't have to worry about those things. Maybe trust that they will take care of themselves, because at the end of the day, it seems like they always do.
Yeah, I mean, for many they do. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do. But I think, as humanity is learning new skill sets, new skill sets and how to listen, how to tap into deeper parts of their heart, or grow new chambers of their heart, or however you want to frame it. I feel like we're in an incredible opportunity. I have experienced, some serious heaven on earth. I mean, it is here for us. Uh, but yeah, I guess we have to, like, take responsibility for our lives and our own joy, and quit projecting our misery and suffering onto those that we love, first of all, and then those, and then on. People like to project their suffering onto a lot of things and a lot of people, but we are in a very tricky system. Capitalism is a tricky system. um and that's why we need new skill sets, to navigate and to kind of hack the system a little bit,
Mhm.
to experience the joy and to listen to the inner voice that's consistently guiding us, or however people frame it, with God, great spirit, the universe, Jesus, however we frame it. There's something so beautiful, full of love, that's guiding each of us. And the more that we learn to really listen to it without arrogance, but really, listen and be led by the spirit of joy, or the spirit of beauty, the spirit of a love, or whatever, those higher ideals that each of us kind of gravitate to. When we remember those things, then maybe we can see a world where we realize, all of us can realize, we're siblings. um, and how to take care, truly how to take care of each other. And that harming one person, or one person not being fed, is all of us not being fed.
Yeah.
Mm.
We had a encounter with a bird, a little bird, yesterday. And I think it ties in the story, like who better to share it with than you? Like, I think it ties in because just the conversation has been me looking for angels out there in the airwaves. But it's kind of strange because every time I do, the birds around me get active, start singing, start flying by me, like they start approaching as I'm gazing out there and trying to like meditate and focus out there and film out there. Um, Everything right here gets more active, and it's like, hey, he's not looking or something. Let's show him the real angels are here. Sometimes I take it as a sign that they're telling me where to look or something like that, and their angels that are over them are out there. But we had a experience like that yesterday. We got outside and was, I guess, fighting fear of sickness and stuff like that yesterday. And we got our instruments out and went outside and burning copal resin, dancing, get some sun, barefoot. And I have my little hand drum. And we're just being children and having fun. And do you want to tell her the little fella?
Sure. So he's out there with the drum, making drum beats, and I'm just dancing silly, and we're listening to some music. Actually, the band that he was talking about, High Lung, and just having a good time in spirit and in nature, and all the birds are singing and they're starting to come around, and a part of me was like, "Oh, you better be still. You better freeze up, or you're gonna scare them." And I'm like, "No, like." That's not going to happen. So he kept banging the drum, and I kept doing my little dances. And this little guy came. He was like a goldfinch, bright golden yellow. and he came and he sat close to us. And so I grabbed a handful of seed and I was holding it out to him, and we were just dancing and watching him. And I started reaching out to the angels and my angels, and I was like, just tell him, you know, we're not going to hurt him. We just want to give him an offering, and he's beautiful. And he started coming back and forth, and he would perch on the line and he would perch on the fence. And then he came perch on the bird feeder. And then there's like a little pole behind the bird feeder that was right behind me. And he came and perched on the top of the pole, and he sang this like vibratory little song, and he fluffed up his feathers and sang his little song, and I could just like feel it going all down my body. And then he flew away. It was so cool.
Yeah,
As they do. Wow, that is amazing. That's amazing. I love bird stories. And it took me a while. Tracy, when I had you on my podcast, we were talking about birds and how they've impacted us, but it took me a while to actually connect the dots that my whole angel story, like everything started with birds. Everything's like my whole experience, the first miracle that I experienced when a bird with a broken wing divided. Yeah, I prayed for it, and it transformed into three small birds and flew away. And I was back then, I was a psychotherapist. I wasn't doing spiritual work and I mean, that's when I really realized angels were real, because I asked the angels to come out. But it was it started with the birds. And then how I feel about birds now. Now it's even deep. I'm in deeper with the birds, but the separation between angels and birds, I don't believe it exists. I think that they're just embodiments of the higher frequency beings that we can see flying around in the sky, but they're all kind of connected extensions, like little fingertips.
yeah, you said it started with birds, and the first thing that comes to my mind is it ends with birds too. Like the whole process of, they're everywhere. And when you're talking about going to the things that we overlook, nature and stuff like that, that they're definitely one. And um, the greatest philosopher doesn't understand what they're doing, here on the earth. None of us understand. Your imagination can help you, but they're not just stupid, little dumb birds by any means. They're very
Yeah.
spiritual, and they embody the angelic. I mean, they're all through the Bible, different colors, different kinds, the jobs that they do, birds that fly in the heavens, birds that are in the waters, like all types of strange, cryptic, verses, but the birds are there. So, going back to something that simple, because that's something that everybody can do. You can gaze for a moment and just watch them long enough and keep
Mhm.
watching them. And then maybe you'll be allowed to see a bird duplicate itself, or what was the word? Replicate itself.
Yeah.
We're going through the scriptures even this yesterday, diving into some deep um, words that are just mentioned by in passing. And one of them was this disciple that the Apostle Paul is saying, hey, this person really strengthened me, and salute everybody in their household. And the person's name was Aquila. It's like, greet Aquila, and Aquila is amazing. And I'm like, I got to look these people up, because I don't think these are people by any means. I think that
Right.
Aquila and Priscilla, or they twins, husband, like it's in passing that we just assume they're just regular people. But Aquila means in the Greek, it means an eagle or a bird. So the name means eagle. And then there's a constellation that is Aquila, and it is a house, a heavenly house, and it says to greet them of the household of Priscilla, and it's the birds.
Oh.
And it's the little things like that. It's like, hold on, there's some really deep ancient stuff here that we haven't been privy to until we are.
Until we are. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are organically. I love that you're finding that, we've talked about this before. But I love that you're finding this stuff in the Bible and interpreting it and discovering it, because I think people are coming to it in a lot of different ways as well. But it's important for us to recover what has been scrubbed out. And a lot of the earth medicine stuff was kind of scrubbed out or forgotten, and all things and all realms sacred. So the birds and the sky and the trees. But yeah, the house of the eagle, that is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, I'm so into it. Yeah, and birds, wow. Yeah, you get outside and you come with a child's heart and you're just curious and you sing or you dance or you do whatever you want to do. You roll around in the ground or whatever you want to do. The animals come.
Yeah.
You know, they come around, they lean in. They're like, oh, okay, this reminds me of the old ways. The folks who used to know,
Yeah.
and all of our people used to know how this place worked. You know, all of our people, all of us have deep ancestral memories of being in communion with the animals and with the land, and that there was no difference between the breath and the land. And the stars and the waters and all of those things. So I love that.
Yeah, it's I mean, we can go on for days. It's so funny that for some reason every time we talk, it's like and you're just the bird lady now. I don't know why. Like equating a we mentioned it maybe once or twice and then haven't stopped talking about birds since. You know, it's been funny because it hasn't been planned that it's not your thing. I mean, you do talk about birds, but it's like it's all about the bird. Like, who else do we talk to about the birds but Corinne, you know?
Because you see it. I know it's so funny because, well, I mean, because I have this property up in Mount Shasta and people have a lot of bird experiences up there as well. But, it started with the birds, but then I kind of like, okay, here's the story about birds, but let's talk about angels for several years. And then when I went up to and opened my property up at Shasta, that's when really the bird stuff started happening. And I know you and I have talked about our very special experience. What do you share with your audience about that, or what do
I'm
you
pretty
label
open.
that as, so that I know the language to use here?
No, it doesn't matter. Like we're just any language is fine. Yeah.
Okay,
We're
so
bilingual, multilingual.
multilingual, me too. Okay. I'm
Speaking
flex. I'm
tongues.
flexible. So I think so I had another activation, a Christ consciousness experience, but up in Shasta, it was more like an integration where it was very embodied. It came straight into the body. And so we talked about, on my podcast, how a lot of it was just multiplicity of beings inside of me. I could hear them speaking in unison through me. And I was um, serving, people, oracling, I guess, channeling, doing the thing, but really in deep, precious communion with all of it. But it was really the birds. And then the governor over at my house is California condor spirit. But then also, because that population is so lean up here, vultures started coming and communing with us, and people could really feel the presence of the beauty of the birds. And so that kind of was my integration, I would say. And it wasn't just thank you for saying I'm bird lady, okay? Because I think this is maybe one of the first times I would say this publicly, but part of that experience, as far as integrating with my ancestors and the saints and things like this, was also I felt like a bird. I was a bird, and actually, when we're in ceremony, people more than at least 5 times, someone has pulled me aside and said, I saw some wings. I just saw a big bird walking around. And because for quite a while, it took me a while to put my pieces together. I'm like part person, part bird, and it took me a second to kind of navigate this whole, like, okay, this is beyond the gender conversation, people. This is like, what species am I? I'm not quite clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like a furry, but the bird version, right? Like,
yeah, I'm like a furry, but it's not quite a fetish. It's more like, it's weird if you just call me a anything. I'm somewhere in between all of the things.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, it took a while.
our ancestors knew that. There was a reason they had totems and totem animals and totem sticks and
Yes.
um, wore feathers, and like they were in tune with that aspect um, of their nature.
Yeah.
Whether it was the star system they came from or the birds that were there or are there sharing the land together, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever animal it was. And the furthest back we go, you see these anthropomorphic gods, if you will, that were the creators or custodians of this garden called Earth or Eden, right? But they were mixed beings. They were men with um,
Yeah.
they looked like a man, but they had eagle heads
Oh,
or
it's
they
true.
had
This
serpent bodies and stuff. And so they would come out the water, they came from heaven, and there was a mixture, and they watched over humanity and mixed with them and
hmm
started priesthoods and
hmm
you know temples to honor them. And that's the earliest records we have anywhere, right? Even if you go to Mexico, like
Oh,
their
totally. It's
earliest stuff,
everywhere.
you get something
It's
very close. If you go to
totally.
Area, if you go to Egypt, you're getting
Egypt is
this
all over
big,
the place. It's
yeah.
all, yeah. And like my interest, my fascination is what are the truths cross culturally?
Hmm.
Because then we can see, which peoples didn't even have access to each other. And what are the similarities here? Birds are everywhere, first of all, you know, and our ancestors, like you said, all of them uh had connection, a patron, protector, animal spirit, and part of my and this is like anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
All of our people, no matter who's listening, your people had specific animals that they talked to that would protect their children, help them protect, and so it is this part of our roots that has been cut off, that are some of these tendrils are growing back. And when we really receive it with an open heart and can see the truth, and we open our eyes not to just this, okay, what's out there flying all the way back in the cosmos, but no, what's right here right now singing to me, and I'm in, can I receive the song so sweetly that my body tingles? Can I actually feel the medicine? And a lot of indigenous cultures believe that when birds sing, they are singing medicine
No.
to wake up the life, to wake us all up. And if we go out and we listen and we just listen to the songs being sung to us, that it cures us, it cures our hearts.
Yeah. It's been the thing we've been, pondering and studying or whatever, or experiencing that, we pray and we ask God for healing for different things. And we just think he's the genie that's, just kind of nods his head and it's done. You say the word, it's done. And maybe we get that from, reading about Jesus and stuff, but uh, the scriptures tells you that they couldn't fit everything that he did in there. There wouldn't be enough books in the world to contain, you got to read through the lines. Like the story's hidden in the name of the person that he healed. Like, who was that person? Anyway, like all what if the answer to the prayer, Father, heal me, because that was her prayer. That was my prayer
Oh, yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
She lost her taste or smelling
Yeah.
and was dealing with sinus stuff, and COVID's been going around. So we're like, what's
Mm.
COVID again, kind of thing. It's like, no, I'm going out in the sun. I'm going to sage, smudge myself. I don't receive that. Nobody told me that, it was a fleeting thought that I grabbed and agreed with it, whatever. So we go outside and do what we do with our medicine and heal and cleanse. And the thing we've been asking, when you ask for healing, what if God sends the thing to heal you? Because we've talked about this a lot with, me going through us going through it together, but then finding out that we had uh the pine resin in the backyard heals you. And I'm begging for people to pray for me. How many prayers do you need? 17? Is it the 18th prayer that does it? Or is it you going outside and pray and then look over at the tree, and when the sunlight hits that sap and shines and kind of gleams in your eye to say, hey, what is that? Let's Google it. Let's look up if there's any medicinal properties? Where does that even inspiration come for you to even want to Google it? And then you eat it and then you start feeling better. And it's like, maybe that's how God is speaking into or healing. And so we believe that with the birds rising. And so now their songs hit different. I want to listen. I want to lean in. I want them to sing over me. So yesterday was special as he took a chance, to get very close to us, knowing that we're, knowing our past. We got a past. Sees us. What we do to birds, we eat them. God told me to go sing my song over them. I'm gonna do it. And he was like nervous, and he did it, and it was the most beautiful tone. And you can feel it. And he got so close, and he was so confident, and it was so beautiful. And that's not a one-time thing. That happens, I believe, every morning if we'll get up and go sit and listen to their song and allow them to sing over us, and it is, my mind goes biblically because I want to trace it back biblically, but you can, because those same stories are repeated over and over and over.
Right.
When the Bible's closed, they continue to repeat over and over and over again of God answering prayers by unconventional ways to the person who prayed it.
Right. I mean, it's like opening up those hearts. And of course it's in the Bible, right? Because it's everywhere.
Right.
If you're paying attention,
Yeah.
it's everywhere. I love that you find it in the Bible, because any book, open it up, read it. But the Bible in particular, so sacred. All of these sacred books that have been unfortunately changed over time, but still the gems, you can't change them. Good luck trying to change them. You just need the right eyes, right? Like you're discovering. Something I want to say about the pine sap is that there are indigenous cultures that know that wherever you are, whatever you need, the intention is the plants that are growing are direct medicine. So when I say, like, it's not just the people that come into your life, like quite literally the plants on your land, the animals, the species that are there, like if it's golden eagle, bald eagle, deer medicine, all of that is medicine. And so I love Google so much because you're right. It's like when the light hits the thing or the bird comes and starts to sing in a song, just to drop everything, because that's your prayer being answered. Because we don't understand that it happens through the earth plane because we're in earth bodies. So the prayer goes up, it's received, and then creator's minions come and they work their medicine. They weave their web of delight around you. Something else that I wanted to say though, my family, they got COVID. We came back from a trip, they got COVID, and I was about to go to retreat where there's 20 people coming and I'm leading it. So what happens if I go, if I get sick and I'm going, oh gosh, I can't refund, like, what am I going to do? Of course, like earth plane stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, capitalism. But but I'm driving and I'm going, oh shit, because all three of them got it. And I'm going, and I'm doing the oh shit, oh whatever, oh no. And all the birds start coming. They're flying around. Like they're flying circles around my car. And I'm like, okay, this is good. And I hear them say, hey, watch your prayers. Because they're telling me what they're hearing is me wanting COVID. It's like it's almost like my obsession and the fear of it was. And so just change your thinking a little bit, because I was more like, oh no, I'm gonna get it, oh no, I'm gonna get it, watch your prayers, they're saying watch it. And so I changed my prayers. I'm perfectly healthy, right? And so luckily that I was spared. That on that occasion our family was spared, everybody did well and recovered. But yeah, the birds, if you're watching there, and most wilderness people know this too, when the birds start squawking, sometimes there's danger nearby. So there's that relic of what our ancestors already knew. Always listen, but it's not just about danger, it's also about the beauty. It's a gift. They're giving some kind of gift to you, some kind of message, some kind of omen of one kind or another. And yeah, pay attention.
That's good. Um, what do you know about, or what is your ritual? Can you talk to the idea of cleansing after a ceremony? Let's say that you held a retreat and people are coming and they're finding healing, they're finding safe space to get all their stuff out because you understand, Corinne, and I can come and I can tell you, and there's other people just in this area that they feel comfortable getting their stuff out, finding healing. So where that stuff goes, you know, you kind of are responsible. You planned it, you held it, you know, the retreats and these sessions and stuff like that. That energy that's left over that those people get rid of after an ayahuasca ceremony, like what is your personal way to cleanse, and do you need to do something with that energy, and how important is it for you to do something with it versus let it absorb into you, because you definitely have to do
Interesting.
that, right?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, you know, interesting. I don't know if you know this. Right now, I'm training actually medicine facilitators right now. And we're about to get into this energetics piece, the gunk, the stuff. And I just want to say, if you have issues with humans and boundaries already, if you have sloppy boundary issues, you're going to have a problem taking on people's shit in ceremony as well. And so we have to, first of all, button up our relationships, period. Understand the difference between your stuff and their stuff, because I'm also a licensed psychotherapist. So there's a lot of people holding medicine ceremonies that don't have those appropriate boundaries, that don't understand the difference. And also I come from like, you know, I love me some shamanic work as well, and have trained in that vein as well, right? So I kind of bridge both. So I just want to say that up front. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I always prepare my space beforehand. I call in allies beforehand. I call in angels, helper spirits, and create a container and a nice circle around wherever it is, so that when people come in, they can feel the uplift, they can feel the peace already, and that already helps disarm and also helps clean up like just the rough edges just when they come in. So then after ceremony, I listen. I listen to what's needed. So for me, it's not just a ritual anymore. It used to be I just close down the directions, and I close down the directions, release everything. But now it's just I ask for support. So it's not just me holding ceremony. It is because I do nature immersion. I'm outside when we do ceremony, unless someone, you know, does a one-on-one session. We, you know, they do an Airbnb thing and whatever. But my preference is nature immersion, because I call in the mountain to come and help and clean this up. Um, so for me, for personal stuff, I when I'm holding ceremony, things shift a lot inside of me, and so I kind of shift gears, and I'm in ceremony mode. And then afterwards, uh, what I'll do a lot of times is get out there and dance, play drums. I do a lot of crying and prayer. I touch the land, um, and it's almost. I just want to say it feels almost as if I'm buckling at the knees, but not from weakness, from glory, from this humility, from this
Gratitude.
gratitude. Yeah, this like it's a hard word to describe, but it's a preciousness.
Mhm.
And as I'm going around and I walk around the land and I just bless everything. I just say hello, and I just blow some smoke at it, or do whatever. When I get myself to the place where I'm in tears and I'm a puddle on the ground, and being so grateful down to the bones, is when I know I've let go, you know,
You can
because the earth
cleanse
takes a
and
lot of
get it
the
all out.
hucha. What was that?
So you can just cleanse and get it out of you, make sure like you like a place of like you're drained because you have nothing left to
Yeah,
give.
I've given it all up. I've given it all up, right? And I don't care if I'm in front of, I don't care who's there is the thing. I used to try and be buttoned up. Like I got it all together. I know what I'm doing. But I buckle in front of people, you know, up and up when I'm holding ceremony, because that's the required in the moment sometimes. And I'm not here to pretend like I'm one thing or the other. What I listen and then I move, my body just does it. And then I start doing stuff. And then sometimes I just break down into a puddle of tears. Maybe I'm crying on behalf of the village that's there with them. But I find the most potent practice is finding that space in your heart that's authentically grateful, so grateful for no good reason anymore. Just grateful. That's a really great purge. But drums cleans out energy just in general. There's a lot of just practical things people do or you can do. And I do all of the things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, where I stand today is I do all of the basics, like close down the directions, thank the allies. I also open up an altar space or a portal so that all the healing spirits come and they do their work. So it's not just me, right? It's not me. It's between the medicine, the people, and the allies that come for them. My role is just to keep the space tidy and to keep the just to almost to be the watcher, almost like the wolf, just kind of like watching and and so, I do oh, you know what else I do? I sing. Okay, but I don't sing. Okay, here's the thing is that I don't sing.
Yeah, right.
So
Neither do we. What we do. Auto-tune's a great ally.
I know. So, but it's embarrassing when you have to sing in
Famous.
front of people you've never sung in front of people,
That
right?
doesn't help in nature with humans around,
It's horrible.
Auto-tune can't help you out there. It counts, right?
Yeah. So when I started stripping down, right, when the initiation, the earth initiation, the divinity of the earth initiation started, it was almost like a feral spirit waking up inside of me, where I could smell things better, scent, like it's almost as if I had feathers or fur. I could sense things in my body and feel them coming, and then my body would just kind of start moving in a certain direction, and I'd end up in the right place. And still happens now, but it was very new for me at the time. But in the middle of ceremony, so I was used to holding ceremony a very specific way before, from the traditions that I learned from. But in this ceremony, it deconstructed where I couldn't act right. And then all of a sudden I would just go, oh God, I apologize, but I have to sing. I apologize to everybody. I'm going to sing now. And so I would sing, but words would come to me. And what was peculiar is they would come to me in Spanish. And I'm not a Spanish speaker. I know Spanish because my lineage is, I'm half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, but we were raised speaking English. So I learned Spanish along the way for a few years in school. So I would start singing Spanglish songs and have to just own it. Like, hey guys, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was this intense permission to just show up, listen, and do. And after that first ceremony of me just being just feral, just listening to spirit, doing what it, from the heart though, straight from the heart. It's coming from the heart, from joy, from beauty, from tears, from sorrow. I mean, just all of the keys were getting played. But what I found was that so many people were so healed by just even witnessing someone be themselves authentically in the moment, and so vulnerable, so being willing to, and because they had, so many of them have probably, adored me or put me on this pedestal or something because, international author and all the angel books and stuff, but to see me human out and to be like, okay, this is awkward. And just to see this process was really healing. And it was such a teaching for me. But here's what I just learned last weekend. Okay. From the grandmother angel spirit who came to try and give me some pants. She said the feminine aspect of our creator, they sing. So the grandmothers sing, the birds sing. The birds are singing. So singing is a way of prayer, right? And so when I sing, it's grandmothers coming, and I still am embarrassed every single time I have to do it, but when I do it, I feel the sheep shift coming on, it's just, okay, here it is. And then horrified before, a little horrified after, but during, beautiful. It feels like the heart just can't stop itself.
Yeah, it's like initiation to what we'll call like kill the flesh or the ego that's trying to say, no, we don't need, sacred spirit to come out. Remember, your singing's not that great. But like, hold on, I want to step past the threshold of I care what people think about me, and I champion the healing too much to, more than I champion this form that I'm in and that I've built for everyone, the international author. And no, I'm just like you, and
Yes,
what I'm doing, you can or already are doing, and how to do that is step past the threshold that somebody's told them that they can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And we all
It's
have
it,
our
it,
own in different areas. And
it's
singing
exactly.
is mine too. It's and maybe yours, but you can sing.
No,
Can you
I
sing?
can only sing because in the inspiration, like it's not.
You don't need auto tune.
Oh no, I definitely need auto tune for sure.
But about being just being vulnerable, even with each other, being
Mhm.
silly, doing and rapping weird. We're just like rapping to each other and singing to each other and stuff that doesn't make sense, and just knowing that that's energy,
Yeah.
knowing that that's hey, we're stimulating the thing that's awkward because that's how you get good at it.
Mm.
And it's like, hold on, because eventually freestyling and rapping and singing, podcasting is not awkward. You move past the threshold to something that you can never do. And then you start doing it and you find out that there's something greater can use you while you're doing it.
Right. Yeah, something greater. There it is. And we've talked about when we have started our careers as, people who speak on spiritual things and putting our face out there, and it's not necessarily the first thing a lot of us want to do, those of us who are guided by spirit and really truly guided by spirit. And a lot of us are kind of like, I really don't want the limelight, right? And so there's a lot of your listeners that probably think they could never start a podcast, or they could never sing sing in public, or that's my latest thing. But or to write a book, all the things that I've done in my career when I started getting more public and more international, none of those things were ever on my list of things I thought I could do, or even things I thought I wanted to do. But it really is amazing when you get so used to getting over yourself, and you're like, F it. I'm just gonna, here's what I'm hearing, guys. Okay. And I'm just gonna say it. And here's what we're about to do here. We ended up having, that first ceremony was the biggest party. It was laughing. It was unlike any ceremony I'd ever done. And it was more, and when I think of enlightened beings, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but people have this idea of quote unquote enlightened beings. And to me, what all that means is you just more you and your most selfness, which what you were created to become without the indoctrination of wherever you've
Without
gotten your
capitalism.
what was that?
Without capitalism, like what can you do? What would you do if money wasn't involved? And usually that's like, I would be a singer, I would be a teacher and help children. Like, do that. What's stopping you? Yeah, that authentic self.
Exactly. Exactly. So, my first, and people are flying out from all over. This dude, like, came from freaking, he like sat in ceremony in Colombia, all over the place. He's Colombian. He sat with like straight up legit, pure blood, freaking indigenous. And I was like so nervous to have, because I'm humbled by the work that I do, and I want to do it like honorably, respectfully, and there I am breaking down, you know, and I just can't act appropriate the way that, So he came up to me after that ceremony, and he told me, he said, you know, he said, my guides told me to watch what she's about to do, because what you're about to see, that's how it's done. And he told me that afterwards. And he said that was the most beautiful ceremony I've ever attended. Um, and he said it was because it was raw and honest. And it didn't come from this place of, oh, you know, it came from the heart, he said. And so I feel like that teaching is so my guidepost. And it always has been. It's just different layers, right? Different layers, different chambers of the heart opening up. But what happens for all of us if we just show up as ourselves, give ourselves permission to be rejected, to be laughed at, um, to be shamed, to be persecuted? What happens if we all just go, you know what? This, there's a different drum inside of me. And this one feels so sweet. It's so full of love and laughter and beauty. And I know that it's coming from something so beautiful that we never learned about. We never learned about this one. So yeah, just thinking about it, right? It's making me cry. But there's so much of my heart that wants the people, right? There's so many suffering people. Some of them don't even know they're suffering. Some people think they have it all figured out. Those people, in particular, I want to people to let go a little bit and to let themselves be who they are, who they were meant to be, because man, it's just so beautiful when we all just can show up and not pretend anymore, not pretend to be whatever thing you're pretending to be, and just be who you were, who Creator created you to be.
Good. I had this idea about the birds and how it ties in, just because it's almost like the birds have done an amazing job of not being able to really be themselves and be vulnerable with us because they can't. Like, okay, so what happens in a world
Yes.
where every person knows the magical properties and healing properties of a bird? What does Big Pharma do if they know that if you grab a bird, squeeze it until it makes a noise and it'll sing on cue, and that can be bottled and sold? So like, they can't come out and say, hey, we're the healers. And it's a great job that you don't know that they are aid to our healing, right? Because they can't be vulnerable. If they could, like, they've been able to hide under the radar. Not just them. Like, let's look at all the animals, all of the vegetation, all of it, because we've already done it with the vegetation. Like, we take their molecules, change them up, and to cure a headache, instead of, hey, get this bare root, chew on it, you're good,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
taking it and running tests on it and stuff like that. But just this idea of when people or things can be vulnerable, the side of them that you are privy to that nobody else has ever seen. And that's fun to fathom. Like, when's the last time somebody, thought about that? Or I know they lived on this land, and there was a similar song. There was the drum. Like, when's the last time somebody took, a mallet and played a deerskin drum? Oh, they've heard it on this land. This is native land for sure. And the birds remember. When's the last?
Yes.
Hold on. We know. And then they start coming out. Like,
They start coming out like,
we're
oh,
doing
you guys are
things that
back.
we think is going to scare them away. Because I was beating
Yeah.
the hell out of the drum. Blah, 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 blah. They're coming
Yeah.
closer. I was like, oh God. Like, hold on.
Yeah.
I got to
I
relearn
know.
some things because we've been lied to.
Yeah, they were an
And I'm so grateful to um our indigenous siblings that have kept the old ways, right? That have been able to. Luckily, they weren't totally annihilated across the planet because to because of the drum. The drum is another universal. It's the heartbeat. I mean, and Creator gifted us this thing inside of our chest because it's the heartbeat. And so we always have our drum. We're always packing with us. And but so grateful to the indigenous, right? To kind of give us for holding their ways in whichever ways that they could. Um, but these primordial things that have been demonized along the way, systematically demonized, uh, are the exact things that bring humanity's heart back to its aliveness, that brings things back into balance, like the drums, like the drum, you know, the drum. It's it's so good.
And I mean, I just turned 40 and I'm just now like understanding this stuff. I've been in music and, for years. And I trust me, I felt the drums can do a lot. All the instruments can do it. The birds can do a lot. The birds can throw you off, confuse you. They can do a lot. But even just yesterday, being able to feel the vibration from the drum and allow it to be in our auric field to release any
Yes.
stuck energy and just feel it. You're like, oh, you can actually feel it and it feels good. Now there's a
Yeah.
different relationship with
Yeah.
it that it's a universal language and we get to work with it,
Yeah.
to serve each other and to serve humanity,
Yeah. I mean, and I just think there's always like new discoveries. And that's what's so fun about having that curious mind and that child's like nature is, oh, okay, what else can I learn? Oh, as opposed to, because you could be, a professional, right? And like, I am a musician. I know how this works, right? You could be that, but there's always new layers, right? To discover.
Yeah, I think we all like that in our heads, but in reality, it takes like the thing that makes you a professional or a creative is your ability to throw that off, Again, the ego thing or whatever. It's like, I'm out here with you. A lot of people see celebrities and stuff who um will get out in concerts and do human stuff. Like Shaq is a DJ at rave festivals and he's in the mosh pits, like big, like 8 foot tall Shaq. And he's like, I
Yeah.
want to mosh. And where I'm from, I can't really be vulnerable. And he's doing these things. And you know, when we're able to see a side of people, of things, when we let them become vulnerable around you and you don't use it against them. Because that's what I'm saying. Like it's been used against us so much. So the ego comes in and say, hey, don't, yeah. Remember last time? We're not gonna, we're not gonna share that. The last time you shared your vulnerable, your heart with somebody, it was, you saw it on a Facebook post, it's like, damn. And that's the truth though. And that shuts you down. Like, yeah, never again. I'm not doing
It
that.
does. I know. Yeah. And I know it's like, what you were talking about with, pharma, about, what would the world look like, but it's not, it starts at the person to person level. What would the world look like if we were safe to be who we are in front of each other and and not be harmed in that way, or actually be received, right? Or at least be like, whoa, that's peculiar. Like laugh, giggle with me about how weird I am or something. But people have learned to be so mean, um, because we lost that sense of family. We lost that sense of a greater family. And from the teachings that I've discovered along the way, the inner teachings, or the learning from the mountains and the birds and just all of it is as we move further down this rabbit hole of the next humanity, it is an invitation for us to not just overly identify with ourselves, just this hyper individualism. I am free. Okay. This me thing has kind of got to shift a little bit into we. And whoever it is that we're projecting our hatred onto, that's a we. It's not a they, it's a we. And what are we going to do about this, solve this thing? But all the finger pointing back and forth, because when you get two people together, no matter what side of the aisle, no whatever what they believe, and you put a game in front of them, they're going to have the best time of their lives together. They're going to be homeboys and homegirls like in minutes. And we have to remember and get past the hypnosis that we're under, that somehow there's people on the planet that are our enemies, the brown people or the white people or the black. There's no enemies here. the enemies in here first. And then, but if we could do the we instead of the those people, maybe we get somewhere, right? So I would love to see a world where we can just be so curious about our differences rather than judgmental.
Yeah, we had a good conversation with a friend who we don't get a lot of visitors over here, but it was a friend who we bought a bunch of old books from. He's like goes to yard sales and estate sales. And he's like, I got all these. We gave us like what, like 15
Probably.
like crystal books on crystals that he found at a yard sale, like old. It was like, yeah, we want those, and he brought them by. But we got to sit down and talk about religion and politics, and it was, cool to hear his side. First of all, to hear our side, to show us how far removed we're from, regular church stuff, but um, to to roll ideas off of him that I knew how I would have responded, but he didn't go through certain, training or like um he's studying religion and listening to Catholic podcasts. He's just listening to different stuff and he wants to know it. Like he's curious, and there was never a bone in him. He's been in church and he's been a minister, but there's never a bone in him to argue or to debate or to, study to prove people wrong. It's like this place of just wanting to know. And it's so cool that, people can do that, from religion, because he's in religion or grew up in it. And it was just so cool that people would want to know about your stuff without trying to convert you or to tell you why you're wrong. And that's rare in the Bible Belt anyway. And obviously online it is too.
God,
And how dare the algorithm show them your video,
how dare they? I know, it's so funny because and we've talked before because you come from a really, a very Christian. I mean, you're so well read and received the Christ in that way, and I received in a different way, but still like not that different at all. Just maybe the books were a little different,
Word.
but
That's all it is. Words are different.
yeah, but the willingness to see each other, that's where we need to open our eyes and to see each other. And whoa, tell me more tell me more about, because I love to hear you talk about scripture. I mean, when I'm guided to the Bible, I'm always elated because I know Spirit's about to drop the mic on some stuff for me. So like I'll look some stuff up real fast and I'll be like, oh, Shazam. I mean, it's such a wonderful specimen, that one. But there are others, right? There are others that are just as impeccable and mind-blowing. But Spirit was talking to me earlier. I meant to mention this. I don't technically know what the blood of Christ is from your perspective, truth seeker, but they wanted me to say to anyone who's listening is that the blood of Christ, however it is that you define it, they're wanting me to translate the words that I use, is the medicine that Corin speaks of. So it is, each person is the carrier of the medicine of this blood of Christ, and it's up to us, each of us, to tap into, sorry, it's going into channeling now. Tap into this blood of Christ. They're showing me actually tapping in as in a big tree. And so the sap, the blood of Christ is nothing that we were taught when we were younger. The medicine is deeper than your specific, unique medicine. You, in your most selfness, that which you offer and share, is nothing that you were taught or would ever have to be taught, because it is already in you. It is the salve. They're saying it is the salve of the wound. They're showing me. And that each of us, each of you who follow Christ and have the blood of Christ, they're just wanting to build a bridge for, I guess, for the language that I'm using, that so that the medicine is the blood of Christ, and vice versa for all of us, whether you're on the mystic side or the whatever. So anyways, I had to get that out.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, how vulnerable, because that's what we're talking about, vulnerability and medicine and magic and spirituality. Like, how vulnerable is Christ to bring his true self forth
Mm.
and have everyone say, attack it. And it's totally pure. And it's actually what you need for healing. And people attack it and it draw people. But in the end, to be so vulnerable that you're hanging on a cross above everyone, totally naked, and have nothing to cover up, you are vulnerable. And everybody gets to see how human you really are. Because that was the thing. Even they're like, oh, he's the son of God. He's doing all these cool things. And I bet you he bleeds like the rest of us. He never said he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, okay, now get yourself down from this cross. It's like, man, this is like, you guys are requiring my blood because it's doing something for you. You couldn't stand to see someone shining in all their glory. So you had to try to dim this light. And so when you tap into the beauty of Christ that's in you, his consciousness, his life force, his blood, it 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 it's it's the word judgment because but it's not judging or projecting. It's what they've judged themselves. Oh man, you're too good. Oh man, I gotta be dirty because you're good. So even if you're not like in this, and so whatever standard you judge yourself by, to see something just as beautiful and pure, it makes you seem, it makes your faults stand out. And going through a people who had a lot of them, you know, instead of applying that blood, say, man, I want to be just like him. Can I be like him? He's like, yeah, you could be. I need more people like me. They said, man, kill him. Like, wow. And knowing that he still did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you stepping out, singing, do it
Mm-hmm.
on camera, put it online. Like, people are gonna mock, but guess what? And let's just say you see 10 comments mocking, 15, 40, 100 comments mocking, but 3 people saying, man, when you sang over me, I felt the spirit of rejection leave me
Yeah.
when you sang.
Yeah.
Worth it?
Yeah.
And so you're the judge of that, right? Is it
Right.
worth 100 mean comments for 2 people to say, my God, when you
Totally.
sang, something shifted in me and I don't know what it was. She's getting those comments. Like, I've gotten those comments. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those comments are in here first,
Mm-hmm.
and you step beyond the threshold, and you challenge it, and then it takes on other voices to try to, get you to put you back in your place. But no, we're not. We're not. We have more that are for us than those who are against, and really those who are against are the
Always.
ones that need it anyway.
Those need
So
it.
much easier said than done, but um, a lot of things I think a lot of beautiful gifts don't come forth because people are so self-centered and self-focused. Like
Totally.
you can just forget about the voice in your head and what you think other people are going to say. If you're getting a strong impression from spirit to do something that's going to be healing for people, of course, you're going to hear all these voices like, you're going to sound stupid. You don't know what you're doing. People are going to laugh at you. Whatever the voices are saying. But if your focus is other people and that it could be, it's a message. It's a message from, you're becoming a messenger from a higher place. And if you can open yourself up to that and not worry about those voices, imagine the people that are going to receive healing from it. I've received healing many times from people who really couldn't sing. It's not their voice. It was the
Yeah.
message. It was what was coming forth through that. And it's so beautiful when we can get less self-centered and step out of the way and
Totally.
let something beautiful come out.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's important for us. And when I'm coaching people in their spiritual businesses or whatever, especially with newbies, right? They're really shy. And but it's those people fine because they're willing to share their medicine, right? They're working on it. It's the ones that are hiding out, being too bashful. Oh, or like, oh, someone's gonna hurt me. Someone's gonna say something mean. I mean, you're grown ass person. Someone says something mean, fine. Let the heart get bigger around it, because when your heart gets bigger around it, you become more resilient. You might cry, but you get back up a lot faster.
Yeah.
You know?
So you have compassion, and that's big with us, and feelings. And,
Yeah.
you have compassion for those who are going through it or who have been through it, whether that's being mocked on the internet or being mocked for your singing or whatever the case is. And so, compassion is what, you know, is what should be a driving force, to heal or to do a podcast or to be vulnerable, whatever. It's through compassion that the world needs it more than I need to, have my ego in check or what, or, be able to control the narrative of what people say. And people say the darndest things, and none of it's truth. You know what I'm saying? We're all of it and none of it at the same time. So disassociate yourself from not just the bad comments, but the good ones as well. And know that if you're putting the intention in it, in the song, in the course, anything you're creating, in the painting, food, like anything, everything. Like, so with even filming the angels, right? There's this idea we talk about it, and I just had a long podcast yesterday with a guy about it and how you're not supposed to film and all this kind of stuff. What if it was always the intention? Because there's this notion, and I got friends who say, man, it feels like when you pull out your cell phone, they leave. Do you feel that? And I'm like, not really. I used to, but maybe the idea of pulling the cell phone out was so that, whatever intention you had, and they knew it. They knew you just want to film to go viral. But what about now? I know if people see this, now I know the ability that like we can do videos and share this stuff, and people begin to like be healed by looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
People like awe and wonder come back to people who have seen similar things and have never, or just believe it in their dreams because they're having dreams of these beings. And then they see one on camera, like, oh God, that's the thing from like studying. Remember, woke up yesterday sharing gibberish with her, really trying to explain a dream that was just fading away as we woke up. It was about the moon reflecting its light and activating these stars. And I saw like the image, and it was being shared with me in a dream, but I didn't understand it. I was just trying to get it out, and it just sounded like gibberish or whatever. I was like, yeah, it's too, I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now. I'm just trying. And then this morning, we're just doing our Bible study and looking up words, and the freaking diagram that I saw in the dream that was being revealed to me, it came up on Wikipedia, and it's this whole thing about how the light from the moon reflects the stars and activates them, and it's got its own name. And
What?
I was like, that's the diagram from the night before. Like, that's it. And it was exactly it that we saw. So it's like being
I just got chills.
being vulnerable, but saying, hold on, what is this? Like something's trying to speak if we'll listen, and to share the dream. I'm glad I shared it with you because
me too. Yeah.
because I'd just be telling her stuff all the time, like, oh yeah, I knew that. Oh, and I'm sure she's like, how can you have that many thoughts or epiphanies? Because I'm like, oh yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, how are you always just thinking about this thing that we just mentioned on the television or in the Bible or something like that? But when you share it, then you're rolling it off of each other. I'm like, okay, there's something to it. Because I do remember you waking up telling me how the stars reflect off of the moon and these lines go back and forth. And we both saw the diagram together. Now we can look into it. But that's the beauty of the creativity, childlike wonder, that you got to know that we're connected to greater things that don't speak English. They only speak maybe in diagram.
Right. Exactly. They speak symbol.
Or music. Like that bird don't speak English. I'm sorry. But English sucks as like you say, when the words are coming to you, like they come to you in a more ancient language, a more, you know, a better, this language sucks so bad. It is magical spells that are being used against us, this language. And so it would make sense why angels don't speak it. They'd rather just give you a telepathic thought. So I'm not using, I can't repeat y'all's.
Oh,
Never
see, yeah.
understand it. It has to be shared that way,
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that about the language. Yeah, I mean, because I've seen just a lot of like, when I'm out in trance and outside, how the language was in a way, I guess, manipulated or not. I don't even know if it was intentional, but all these like really hard edges, kind of like the in, it's like, those are sigils and it's so I've been working on kind of a different kind of alphabet to look, okay, what matches the vibe today, okay? Because we're coming unstructured. We don't need any more kind of tightness and rigidity and all this mean stuff that's been going on for the last few thousand years. Can we just be done with that? But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, the language. And it's funny because I'll be like, I can't hear you. It's like, eventually they'll get the message across. It's because we don't speak English. We're guides, I can hear, right? Spirits, I can hear in English. So, but yeah, it's the symbols, the synchronicities that keep on happening for people. Those are that's language that you have to learn how to interpret. But you don't have to. It's an option.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, you
If
do.
you're listening to this podcast this long in, just know it's in the curriculum somewhere that you
Oh,
have
that's
to
true. If
learn
there
multiple languages, and they don't have to be spoken.
Preferably not spoken languages. There's other kinds of languages to learn. That's funny. That's true though. If you're still listening, yeah, it's part of the curriculum. Decoding symbol.
We just got through First Corinthians. It took us a long time. I think it's 16 chapters, but there's one. It's about prophecy and channeling and harnessing energy and sharing with those above you and how to do it. It's nuanced in there, trust me. But one of them says, Corinthians 14, it says, if I speak with the tongues of angels but have not love, I'm just a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal, and the angels won't be able to know who I'm calling on if I'm not operating out of the feeling that's aligned with love. That last part's said with different words, but you
Uh-huh.
got a notion there. If I speak with the tongues of angels, so you know that there's a language that the angels speak, and it's not English because that wasn't written in English. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. It's obviously not English.
maybe it was Greek, Latin, or Hebrew, or
Could be
Sanskrit,
Aramaic.
or maybe it
Could
was
be.
always feeling.
Maybe it
Maybe it still
was.
is. Maybe it's the Care Bear stare that we could go under the stars,
Right?
and we could say it just so your carnal mind can know it. But when you feel it and you're able to push it and project it, that's how you manifest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you create. That's what we're doing.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Yes, yes. Love. A lot one of the big teachings up when I had my restructuring, if you will, I was trying to decide what do you call this particular species I've become. Um, yeah, one of the big teachings was the everything from the heart. The when people will, because especially if it's people who are relearning how to be more, no, now how to engage in ritual, just daily ritual, like what's they want these rules. Okay, what kind of offering should I give? um what kind of prayer should I say? What do I do? And the biggest teaching is none of it matters. Say your rote prayer if you want, but if it's rote and there's no heart in it, it ain't going to get heard. You can throw down your seeds to Pachamama just out of rote behavior. You can light your incense, do whatever it is they told you to do, quote unquote, on whichever side of the game you're playing. But it's all a game until you find your heart. And so it doesn't matter what offering. What do you feel like from the heart? What kind of gift? What kind of ritual would you love to do right now? What would bring you closer in communion to love? Um, and if it was your grandmother or your grandfather, How would you want to honor it today, in this moment?
Probably connected to how you honored her when you were here, eating her meal that she cooked, right? And so what happens in it, it invokes feelings in you. The smell of whatever that thing is. I was gonna say fried chicken. That's how we grew up, but nah, we're not. The smell of, greens, collard greens. I don't know. Like it invokes something, in you that reminds you, of some beautiful times that you had, and that's the energy, which is the offering that we can work with, and that they work with, and we work with it too. But I was gonna say that's what I really love about your work and you teaching and sharing on your relationship with the angels, because that's what drives it home. Because I've got a ton of books on sigils and the names of angels, and you can
Me
read and
too.
find them, and there's no end to those. But you don't. None of those books serve you anything until you are in relationship and you have a mutual feeling of
Isso é.
understanding. And
Isso é.
so just think of any feeling that exists, and know that there's an angel and angel armies that are associated with, if I have not love, I'm a resounding gong. If I bring forth fear, if I bring forth trauma, if I'm hurting, anything that has a feeling or creates a feeling, like, is the currency that we're already offering, whether you know it or not. And if you do it and you don't do it to get a response, and you just do it because it's now your nature, know that you're already in that order of angels, And I love that's what you emphasize bringing to the table, because I've got all these books, and they have all these names. They don't mean anything until that feeling comes forth and you find that connection. Oh, this is the name of the angel over the, you know, plant kingdom and the birds, and this is the name that was echoed in my head while I'm sleeping. That's how you know what angel you should look into and look up, because you're already, like, you've already been initiated, and then the name comes later. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, like the work, we can complicate things or we can make it really simple. And I could have made things a lot more complicated because I'm aware of all the sigils and all of this stuff, but the bottom line is just come to the freaking table and play, try something, do it with some love, and try this thing, see if it works. But then when I do my books and they're like, okay, what do I do now? I'm like, keep playing. That's it. Keep playing, keep doing it.
Yeah, that's it. Then that's it. Get out there and try it again.
If you reach out to touch them, they'll reach back out and touch you. It's just how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
They already are, and you just become aware
Yeah, true.
of their hand on
Right.
in your life.
Yeah.
It's cool. Again, we get to look back and come back over our lives and get to see how God, source, the animals were always there. You're like so far removed from your beginning, but now you can look back and say, the birds have always been there. They're there from day one to day 7, day 9. Like, they've always been there. I just didn't see their patterns and their connections. And so
Yeah.
I'm just in hindsight.
I know it's fascinating, isn't it? How that can work, or how things come together.
Yeah, when you said that, I'm immediately going back in my head of the times like a bird showed up and courage was imparted. A dove, you know, was released out of marriage or something like it, or a certain bird flew over.
Fear.
Yeah, like, you remember which one?
I was just talking about when we were praying the other day and the hawk
Oh
flew
God.
over.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And remember I was going down like we were up north, and I was gonna go like kayaking. I've never kayaked before, and it was on vacation with my mom and her husband at the time. And it was just me and him. We're like, we're gonna go. And we get there to this place, and it had just been storming like the week before. And so the water was like rough and like dark brown. like the water looked like mud. So it's like, I don't want to fall out in this water. And it's really like rough and choppy. It's like a mud flood. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. And he's like, it gets rough the further you go. It's like, I get in the boat and I'm like, or the kayak, and they tip me. I'm scared to death. And then this eagle just is soaring above me, and I'm, thank you. Okay, that's God telling me, that I'm gonna watch over you, and you're gonna be okay. Like that
For real.
invokes something in me to say, enjoy it. You're gonna be okay. I'm not gonna let you die. Just trust it. So they've been there the whole time, and it's fun to go back and see.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, everywhere around us, we have so much support. We just have to, I guess, just let go of some of, like I said before, the indoctrination to think that somehow the earth was separate, was totally separate and even demonized, just dirty, filthy, all this purity stuff. I mean, it's wrong direction. The earth is already pure. It's already doing its thing. We're the ones who need to the minds need to catch up.
It's so true. Well, I don't know how long we've been on here, probably an hour and a half, maybe a little longer. I don't know. It's always fun to dive in. But let people know what you got going on right now. You've got your latest book, you're doing retreats, you've got your podcast, which we had a great talk on there. People got to go check that out who haven't heard. Trust me, you'll get some inside scoop on these second and third and 17th awakenings that you go through. And I definitely was able to be vulnerable with Corinne on that show, and it was a great show. So make sure you guys check that out. But
yeah, that's a really good one. I think I forget what that title. So my podcast name is The Corin Grillo Show. That's my latest one. And I think our episode is something about Christ consciousness and the mystical secrets of the Bible or something like that. If you see something, I mean, it's pretty good. People still love it. I get comments on that still, just people just loving hearing to grounded people talk about the real deal behind awakenings, Christ consciousness experiences, and how bizarre they can be. So that's
anything coming down the pipeline?
What was that?
Anything coming down the pipeline for you in the future that you want to get people to check out?
Yeah, I'm going to open up another retreat pretty soon. So if you go to my website, coringrillo.com, you can get informed, get on the wait list of that. So it'll say retreats, or Casa Condor is the name of my house. It's not super public. You can't Google it. You have to go to my website to find it. So you can put yourself on the wait list if you're curious about the kind of retreats that we do there. But I think that's it. Check out my website. Got all the stuff there. But thanks so much for having me on, Arien and TruthSeekah. It's so fun to talk to you guys always.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. And it's a blessing to talk to you. Like, I've looked into some of your angel teachings, and I watched the podcast you guys did together, and it's just always beautiful to be on the outside. So it's beautiful to be on the inside for once.
On the inside. Yeah, it's great. That's so sweet of you to listen to that stuff and to play with the angels in the kind of party way, Yeah. I love it. Yeah, so it's so great.
All right, Corinne, we'll do it again, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see you.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. Your so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.